Sunday fun day, another NBA playoff day ahead of us. Two games to discuss today. Gino McCullough here alongside Erik from ETOF21 Sports. Erik, we can reflect a little bit on what went down yesterday. God, the Knicks, man, it's like a bad matchup for them. I think we sort of see what their ceiling is because the way they play in the regular season, it works. They don't have a whole lot of adjustments like offensively because a lot of their players are a little bit more sort of isolate. It's a little easier to defend against better teams that are better coached. Spoelstra's a very good coach, and he's able to make things really, really difficult on them. It's been a little disappointing for them in this series playing against this super undermanned Miami team who's been a little bit banged up. And we thought that sort of their shooting was going to come back to life a little bit, but I'd be a little worried right now for the Knicks.
Yeah, the Knicks have every right to be worried. Randall can't get anything going. Brunson can't get anything going.
Nothing easy.
I think the key thing is there's two key things. RJ Barrett, his home road splits are night and day, and they need him to be able to do some stuff in order to be successful. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two, Grimes, who normally starts, he's not 100% healthy, and he's really good at spacing the floor, hitting some knockdown threes. So I think it's just the combination of those two things, and plus they're kind of limited offensively what they can do, and it's just really a bad matchup, and kind of speaks to how bad the Cavs were this year.
So Heat up now 2-1 as they head into Game 4 coming up in just a few days. Second game of the doubleheader yesterday was Lakers and the Warriors. Warriors were up early, about 10 or so, and then the game really flipped in the second quarter. You and I were talking a little bit about this before we started recording. The Lakers made some really key adjustments as far as a couple personnel changes. They brought Lonnie Walker in, sort of made him a little bit more of a part of the rotation. It seemed like Troy Brown Jr. was having a tough time kind of getting through screens and playing defense on some of the shooters. And they really did a good job of making it difficult on Steph, turning Steph into just a scorer, not a playmaker. And what they did, again, the adjustment, and we see this in series a lot. Game 1, Lakers were better. Game 2, Golden State makes the adjustment, and the Lakers were kind of caught off guard. You pointed it out. Their defense, the way they were defending was a little bit strange. Anthony Davis was they sort of got caught up with the personnel switch with JaMychal Green. In this game, it looked like the Lakers were ready for what they did, and now you sort of expect Golden State to try to counter next game. I think they may make another switch in the starting lineup because I just don't know if they get enough from JaMychal Green. I think that was good for like a one game. He needs to hit threes, and if the Lakers just sag off him like they were doing with Looney and with Draymond, then the whole purpose of having JaMychal Green out there is irrelevant. At least with Looney, you get a bunch of rebounds. At least with Poole, you can get more scoring.
Yeah, it was a weird game.
It was really no flow.
It was a real weird game.
Right? Like, didn't flow at all.
Yeah, 8 minutes left in the second. Warriors up by 11, and I don't think LeBron had scored yet. And then he got to the free-throw line. They overturned that block overturned the charge to a block, which
that was like a momentum play, right? And you feel like momentum start to swing.
And then it was a pointless challenge by Kerr because it was an obvious foul on Green, and then the wheels just kind of fell off. I thought Kerr held onto that timeout a little bit longer than he should have. Weird game. I think the guy they need to play is just Mooney, just because of what he can do.
Absolutely.
And he's explosive. I would look to play him a little bit more than JaMychal Green, but how can I word this? I think it was the Lakers do deserve credit because of the adjustments they made, like you mentioned, playing Lonnie Walker and everything. But we kind of saw it like at the 4 or 5 minute mark, 3 minute mark, the wheels, like Golden State just made mistakes you'd expect from a Memphis team. Arguing with the officials, got some technical fouls, and the dam just opened up, and they just couldn't shut it down.
What's funny is everybody wants to always give this team a lot of credit, which they should, because they are a championship team. They haven't been beat in a series in how long? But they do a lot of things like that. Like you said, often. They make silly passes. They turn the ball over a lot. Look what they did in the Sacramento series a couple times down the stretch. Steph with a timeout. How many bad execution down the stretch? It's not as if they're perfect, right? I mean, you never know what you're going to get from Draymond. Like, honestly, if watching a Draymond game, if there was just an ISO cam on him and you saw what he does and the stuff he gets away with, because Draymond honestly fouls somebody on every single play. But he puts the referees in a position where they're not going to call it every play on him. So he kind of manipulates it. It's smart to do, but when you're watching him in a series and every time he just gives somebody a little shove in the back and he's like kneeing them here and this and that, it starts to get, anything in a series starts to get annoying. You live with someone, you're around them a lot. All of the little things start to get annoying, right, Erik? We pick all those things up, but
it just kind of gets to the point, though. Well, I mean, here's my counter to that is I feel you can call a foul pretty much on everything, kind of like the NBA.
He takes it to a different level, though, because he knows. Well,
Green
it's funny,
is dirty,
but it's funny. I don't even know if he's dirty. I don't think he's trying to hurt people as much as gain an advantage, right?
Yeah,
gain the little advantages that he can. And why he's smart is he yells and screams and just blasts these referees. He'll be right up in their face, unlike any other guy in the league. There is no other player in the league that officials will let get right in their face and scream. But you know why they do? Because after the game and before the game, he's out there on the court with them, talking to them like they're buddies. He talks about their fan. He's smart. He knows exactly what he's doing. If you hear him talk on his podcast and stuff after the game, he's not some dumb player who just goes out there and doesn't have a plan. Everything he does is very calculated. And that's why it's so frustrating, because the guy's so damn smart and you watch him do it and you know what he's doing at all times. And he gains any advantage that they can. One more thing before we move on to today's game, and I sort of cut you off and you were countering, but I cut you off because you were about to counter something negative that sounded like Lakers. So that's why I had to cut you off right there, but I'll let you say it in a second. I heard one thing on the Redick that Redick mentioned, and you and I have talked about Redick a lot. I think he's a really smart guy. I love listening to him talk basketball. He was talking to Bogut, and they were saying how when Bogut was playing with Golden State, they get into these runs and the officials just let him get away with everything.
Yeah.
They let him screen, they let Bogut just crush people on screens. Says the officials kind of get fans at that point and they get caught up in all the threes being made. They're not even watching me level the next guy on a screen and then Steph's wide open. And you sort of see that sometimes, but I thought Bogut saying it was really great. But your point is not wrong, Erik. I was feeling very uneasy early in the second quarter when the Lakers were down by 10. Things shifted, and it was a combination of adjustments, but Golden State did not play well for the next quarter and a half, and then the fourth, they were just done. Then they were just done.
Yeah, it was just all over. I mean, it was still a manageable game, but they just couldn't put that span emotionally behind them, which was a little disappointing to see. But
yeah,
I'm sure Kerr. I mean, if you had to rank the best coaches in the league, Kerr's top 5. I'm sure he'll come up with something to get them back going in the right direction.
And this is where they're always really good. They bounce back right after they get their butt kicked. They look, you watch their game. This is just like in game 1 when you watch and you're like, gosh, when Anthony Davis, it seems like the Lakers have a lot of advantages there. And then the next game, they'll make some adjustments. And he does get maligned throughout a lot of the playoffs, but I've been looking at a lot of metrics, and Anthony Davis has been the most impactful player on the floor on any team throughout the playoffs so far, based on what he does defensively, because he just alters and changes and blocks so many shots and makes people think about what they do. Even in a game last night, he only took 9 shots, but he shot a ton of free throws, and he ended up playing really, really well. Oh, Erik, we got to mention this one though. The bad beats are tough. He didn't get the double-double because Wiggins only ended up playing, a total of 28 minutes.
Yep.
Normally, you're going to get him playing closer to 40, but because it was such a big blowout.
It was the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
I'm interested to see how many potential rebounds he had last night, but
yeah.
Just
a couple of us not fans of that one, right?
It was just, yeah. It was plus 600. It was a great price. And the thing I said about it was, look, he's starting to stagger the Looney Green minutes. They're not on the court. So that's all those potential rebounds that could be there. And Wiggins was third in potential rebounds, getting double digits. So I felt he had a chance for it to go over. And oh my God, when he had 13 and 7 going into halftime, I felt pretty confident. But unfortunately, not meant to be. Hopefully, the gambling guys can turn it around for us today.
That's just brutal. That's brutal. But like we said, it's hard. I try to tell myself this because we were both talking before how we had tough days yesterday. And it's difficult because a tough day for someone like you or I could end up being a lot different. And I'm not saying that our bad beats are worse than your bad beats or something like that, because everybody's bad beats, $1 for some person is $1 million for others, right? So it's not about how much money or anything like that. But what I mean is, like, for you on a day like yesterday, it could be horse racing, baseball, UFC, basketball, all in one day. And that's the same thing for me. Like, there are days where it's relentless. There are 3 times yesterday where I got horrifically beat in the races when I finished second. And I didn't need all 3 of those to win. If any one of those 3 times the result was slightly different, and then a basketball game, and then a baseball game, and then, like some days it's football, college football, basketball, baseball. It's just when we play as much as we do, you have to try to tell yourself at the end of those days, because I was not happy last night and yesterday, I'll tell you that. But when you wake up the next day, you got to be fresh, and you got to remind yourself that when you're good and when you play often, there are going to be more bad beats. You're going to be close a lot because you're good and because you play a lot of things. So it's just more likely that 3 times throughout the day, you're really, really close, and all 3 of those could just go the wrong way.
I believe everything evens out at the end of the day. So that's just what I do. It's just one of those things where it's like,
I will tell anyone watching, there is a really big horse racing one coming for me. If you're someone that follows some of my racing stuff, because it's been a couple years where I have been alive for some big, big ones repeatedly. And I've had a lot of winners along the way, but it's at the point where the way I'm losing a lot of these are, like I told you yesterday, one of them was I had 2 different horses, and like a minute before the race, one of those horses got scratched, and then the other one ran second by like a nose. You're sort of like, you invent ways to lose, and that's what it feels like right now. So if you're someone who follows my racing stuff, I feel like there might be a big one coming soon. So maybe keep an eye out for that one coming. But Erik, we're going to make some money today. 2 NBA games, and we will kick things off with the Sixers and the Celtics, and the narratives going around for the 76ers. They are not good for Jimmy James Harden. And what we do on this show is we are honest, because we have to be as bettors. Throughout his entire playoff career, James Harden has not been great. He has some good moments. I think he has some good series. He actually was up on the really good Golden State team 3 games to 2 a few years ago before they blew that when he was back in Houston. He had the best playoff game he'd ever had in game 1 of this series against the Celtics. Absolutely dusted them himself without Joel Embiid. He was the best player on the court. Like, you gave him a ton of credit. He looked like old Harden. Just step backs, big shots, like hustling up and down the court. And then the next 2 games, he has been so miserable. Like, this is the Harden that we think.
I think part of that has to do with when Embiid's not there, he has a lot more freedom, and they're fast breaking more. They're pushing the pace. With Embiid on the court, they're not looking to use that tempo. And I think that's going to be the big quote unquote adjustment that Doc Rivers does.
Yep.
Max is very good in transition too. I think he's going to tell those guys, look, just get out and run. If it's not there, we can cut, because Embiid does have a decent 3 from the top of the key, 18-foot jumper from the top of the arc. If the break's not there, hit Embiid trailing. And I think that's what they're going to look to do. I think that's going to be the big game plan coming out. That's why I did end up betting the 76ers plus the 3 here.
You and I are both on them today.
That have watched this are probably like, well, why didn't you do the first half too? I'm just kind of looking at this. 76ers the last couple years, 44% ATS after a loss for the first half. That drops all the way down to 33% at home first half off a loss. They're really good off a loss ATS in general, straight up game. But that first half, they're still not starting off good. That's why I didn't play the first half. Also for the year, they're 42% ATS. And then would it shock you if I told you the Sixers were the best 3-point shooting team percentage-wise this year? They actually were. So they're going to be due for some positive 3-point shooting regression. I think we're going to start to see those shots knocked down, maybe in a
based on shot quality. You and I like shot quality a lot. We follow them. Based on shot quality, both Harden and Maxey took very good shots. Based on shot quality, Maxey was supposed to have 20.5 points. So I'm going over the Maxey points. He had a really bad game. Harden was supposed to have over 22.5 points. I'm going to go 29.5 points and assists for Harden. Those are the two combos I'm playing. I think this is the it game for them, right? This is your season. You cannot go down 3-1 and then have to go back to Boston. Like, just can't do it. So this is it. Everything that you've got right here, Harden, Maxey. I think this game is when Harden will be okay. It's usually in the elimination games when the bad Harden comes back, like the really, really big important games. I think he'll bounce back here because he's been hearing people chirp the last few games, so last few days. So I expect a good game from him and from Maxey over the 19.5. Erik and I both on 76ers plus the 3.
And it's really hard to trust the Celtics. The one thing that this Celtics coach has kind of stood out to me is this. In between game adjustments, I think he's pretty good at, but on the fly adjustments,
totally different.
Still kind of struggling to figure out. So I kind of I think in game, Doc could have a little bit advantage, as crazy as it sounds. I'm not the biggest Doc Rivers guy. I kind of think this is a good matchup for him. I think this is the thing. And my game plan all along was whoever lost the game, I'm taking game 4. So I'm taking the Sixers here plus the 3. Let's see what happens.
Let's see. Oh, I had a question here that was about Derma Sotogake. Watch that race again. He ran pretty well. He finished 6th in that race out of 18. Like, he was just way out of it early, but he completely missed the break. So he's a horse to play back in like smaller fields. He ran deceptively well.
Now, will they ship him back or will they keep him over here?
He'll stay. It depends, right? So he'll stay. If he's going to run in the other races, he'll stay. I have to find out. With some of these horses that come out of the Derby, they'll probably take like a day or two, at least before they'll see how the horses come out of the race, check and see if there are any little minor injuries or anything before they make the decisions. But they did already say that Two Fills, Mage, Disarm, Confidence Game are going to come back for sure. And like if Forte is ready and healthy, he'll be in that race also. So those are the horses who look like they'll be running in the Preakness. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing early. I was like, I was watching the race and he was way, way out of it. I was expecting him to be a lot closer. And then I started just focusing on Two Fills for a lot of it, who ran great. He moved it early and I was rooting for him. But the announcer gave Derma Sotogake a big call, and he did sort of move pretty nicely into some contention. So maybe a horse we keep an eye on if he keeps running here. Erik, anything else you want to talk about in our first game?
No, maybe look to play some adjusted 3-point. I'm trying to play around, but no book will let you parlay like a Harden adjusted over 3 and the Sixers money line, which is disappointing.
Let's move to game number 2. So we've got the Nuggets, we've got the Suns, and Erik, it's funny. Again, you and I we'll talk about games a little bit back and forth sometimes, but honestly, a little bit more during football season. The last couple of weeks, you and I have been sort of separately busy with our schedules. So like you were at the draft a little, I was dealing with a lot of derby stuff. So we haven't really gone back and forth much about these games before we sat down and talked, but it just goes to show how similar we think with a lot of these things, because you and I both today play the Nuggets on the money line. I think you got 120. I got a little lighter line, 118, almost the same thing. We both play the Booker under the 32.5 points. You also played the Nuggets plus the 3, I believe, but didn't talk at all. But just from what we watched, from what I saw, the Nuggets were expected to score 9 more points on finishes at the rim. Booker shot 20 of 25. He scored 18 more points than expected based on shot quality. The Suns won a game by 7, 121 to 114, where they shot over 50% from the field goal. Booker scored 47. Durant scores 39. So between the two of those guys, you got 86 points. Nobody else on the team had more than 7, but they actually got 5 points from TJ Warren in clutch time down the stretch, which was nuts. Like he hit a couple big shots for them when they really needed it. Those two guys, Durant and Booker, played 42 and 43 minutes and had to carry a huge load. And keep in mind, before that last game, so they played on Friday, they hadn't played since Monday. So they had 3 days off for those two to be rested and ready. And now they got to play on another 2 days after just 1 day off. Right? They had a Saturday off. They come right back here. Those two are going to have to carry a heavy load again. Another thing, Phoenix was 9 for 28 from 3, and Denver was 10 for 30. That is not likely. Phoenix doesn't shoot a whole lot of threes, and Denver's a much better and more prolific three-point shooting team. You could also tell, Erik, I don't like to blame everything on officials. We were just talking about official stuff, but there is sort of a reason why that game 3, a lot of the time, when a team goes back home and they're down 2-0, they get a few extra calls. And you could just sort of see it last night. Some of those Jokic calls that he normally gets, he wasn't getting. And he was throwing his hands up and flailing because he was frustrated. But there is a little something to it. I think more than anything, I'm not saying it's scripted, but they don't want these series to be over quickly. If it's a close call, they're going to give Durant and Booker a little bit benefit of the doubt. I'm all over the Nuggets today.
I am too. And Nuggets had more points in the paint, more offensive rebounds, more made threes, more free throw attempts, and they still lost. Booker, KD had to do everything and play perfectly, and they did. They had 86 of the 121 points. The next highest scorer, Cam Payne and TJ Warren, both had 7 points. I am betting they can't do that again. And they don't have anyone else on this team that's going to be able to step up. Nuggets are 5-1 this year against the Suns. That's the first time they didn't cover. I expect a better game from the Nuggets. Role players, I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Gordon on Booker, Bruce Brown on Booker. I think they're going to kind of, as crazy as it sounds, because Booker is a better playmaker at this stage of his career than Durant is, I think they're going to let Durant get his and look to take Booker away, because Booker can get other people involved. Short rest for the Suns. I really think, they're going to, they're just going to be tired. And, I think we're going to throw different stuff at them. So it should be interesting. Gino, I can't hear you, my friend.
I was muted. I'm watching the Lakers Golden State series, and I'm expecting a counter from Golden State in Game 4. Right? You look at these teams, and like when Boston plays, there are things that they can do that I just don't know what options Phoenix has. Right? That's the difference. Like you look at Golden State, like we said, okay, they can play Moody a little bit more, maybe Kuminga a little bit more. They can play less of Green, more of Green, Looney. They've got options, right? They're not all great options, but they can do different things, throw different looks at you, and you expect them to do that. More Poole, more Peyton, whatever it is. The Lakers, same exact thing. They made some adjustments. Lonnie Walker hadn't played in a while. They bring him in. They can have Troy Brown. It can be more of a Rui game or a Vanderbilt game. They can all of a sudden dust off Wenyen Gabriel for a few minutes if they need. They have options that I'm just looking at the Suns, Erik, and like you said, how else are they going to win other than what just happened in that last game? They need those guys to score 80 points, and they need to hope that Denver shoots 30% from three.
Yeah. It's just a bad matchup. They have no depth. Losing all those pieces they gave up. Also, what's going to happen with Ayton? I really don't know. Like, I'm still waiting for the point of the series where everyone is yelling at Ayton and Durant's just kind of looking there like, why are you yelling at him? It's not just his fault. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just don't think they have enough. And I think Denver's kind of poised to go on a little bit of a run because, like right now, if you had to pick a team, you're picking Denver to win it.
Absolutely. They look like they've been playing at the most consistent basketball. And honestly, the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Suns, they've had so much kind of chaos throughout the year. The Suns have a completely different team. The Lakers have a lot of different pieces. These teams haven't really played together all that much. You look at LeBron in a game like last night, that was fantastic for the Lakers because LeBron didn't have to play the fourth quarter. I don't know how much he would have been able to. He turned the Jets on for the third quarter and was incredible, but he can't do it again. Like, he doesn't have another booster to turn on anymore. You can see it in his face. He was just done. I told my dad, dude, LeBron is not going to be able to play till about 5 minutes left in the fourth. And then by the time it got over 20, they just pulled everybody out. And there was about a few minutes where it looked like if Golden State could cut it to about 12, 15, they were going to go for it, but it got to 24, and then they said, screw it, and they took everybody out, which was smart. But it was lucky for the Lakers because LeBron can't do that. We're not seeing that with Denver right now. No. It seems like they have a little bit more depth, a little more options. Jokic looks really good. Erik, question here for you. Does the ball not move as well when Embiid is on the court? And your fast break thoughts are true. Thoughts on Embiid over 0.5 threes?
I actually like that. I mean, if they're going to actually look to run more, which I think they are, and Embiid's trailing, he does shoot a couple threes. It's again minus 112. I actually just bet that. So I like that play a lot.
Oh, nice. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The ball doesn't move as much when someone like Embiid is on the court. It's just because the ball has to find him. It's inevitable. And this is what happens when you have a star player a lot of the time. That is a big man. And I will say, though, the ball moves very well with Jokic. It's a little bit different, right? It's hard because Jokic is one of the best big man passers ever, like him and Sabonis, like when you talk about, and some of them, but it does because think about Embiid gets the ball sort of even with other bigs that you think about that are like good offensive bigs. He really goes slow because he wants to get fouled. He wants to sort of flail, right? And then get to the free throw line. A lot of the other bigs will sort of get it and go. Like when AD is sort of cooking, he's usually not posting up and backing you down, right? He kind of gets it and just goes at you really quick or kind of faces you front. That's Jokic is incredible that he sort of does everything. Like he will back you down and then he'll go at you. He'll just throw it up over. Like I've never seen someone like that.
it is insane how good that he is and what he's developed into.
And isn't it funny, like we're seeing again this year, we forget sometimes throughout the regular season how different playoff basketball is from regular season basketball. And I'm not saying this as if Joel Embiid isn't really impactful, and he's definitely a little bit banged up right now. But when you watch and you see Jokic and AD, who we're talking about right now, and compare them to someone like Embiid, for what Jokic does for you offensively and how much he does, and then what AD does for you defensively, how much he does on that end, and then 65% of the time he has these really good offensive games too, AD. You know, like you watch them and you compare him to Embiid, and I just think, man, I'm so glad I am on a team that roots for a guy like AD, even though he gets a lot of crap, because in this part of the year, this is who you want. You want Jokic right now. I think you want AD, and you bring this up all the time about Embiid, Erik, and I try to take Embiid. I try to give Embiid a lot of the benefit of the doubt, but just compare him to the other guys that he is supposed to be held up to right now, and how they play like on both sides and how impactful they are. You know, he needs to come out with a big game today. Embiid does, and show that he's deserving of that MVP.
Yeah, he needs. This is put up or shut up time, and it's, I don't know. I get he's not healthy, but like all the quote unquote greats. I mean, look at Kobe was like icing his knees. Like Jordan went through all this stuff. LeBron has been through a lot of this stuff. If you want to be in that same thing, you have to go out there and you have to be able to produce when stuff is bad, and you know, hopefully
you have to do it at least once, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. You got to do it once. You can't always not be healthy in the playoffs. It can't always be that. And I say that as a guy who roots for teams that have had major injuries in the playoffs, but we brought this up now with Chris Paul again. You know, it gets to the point where some of the best ability is availability, right? If you're not there over and over and over and over again, we've seen Kawhi do it a couple times. He's not there all the time, but Kawhi's shown you he can do it. Kevin Durant's shown you he can do it. Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, they'll miss games, but they've shown you they can go through what the entire rigors of a playoff run are, go through all those games and last. We still haven't seen it from Embiid one time. And again, this is what you harp on a lot with him. Show it to me once.
Yeah, you just got to be there. And he's
Erik,
just not there.
You know where we're going to be today? ThriveFantasy.com. That's where we're headed, to the ThriveFantasy.com website. We are going to use the promo code GINO, because when you deposit anything from 25 all the way up to 250, you get a match deposit bonus. It's a 4-time rollover. You can play on this site. It's a DFS site, so you can play in contests like you would if you played on other sites like DraftKings and FanDuel and stuff like that, where you play against a bunch of other contestants. But what's nice about these contests in particular, Erik, it's like 100 people, 50, 30, 40 sometimes. So you're not playing against a bunch of bots, right? A bunch of computer generated entries, people that have 100 and 1,000 entries. You're playing against legitimate other players. But what you and I really like is this prop lobby. This thing is awesome, because you get better value playing these props than if you bet them anywhere else.
They're phenomenal. Plus the parlay stuff is absolutely great. And I have, my thing right now is I don't know the other piece I want to add. So that's why I want to pick your brain, because the two I like are from the same game.
Okay. So
the same team. I like Booker under 47.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I really think they're going to look to just kind of take him away and him not to be a factor. So, you know, because of that, I think that's kind of where my head is. And then
so you got Booker under the 47.5.
Yeah, under the 47.5. And then I like 8 and under 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's only gone over this once. I really don't know how much he's going to play.
I know.
With you.
I know. Okay, let's go that one. Let's go under that one. And then the Jokic has a promo one up here. The points, rebounds, assists, they did a little boost. So I'm going to throw that one in on the promo boost, for because they lowered that one down. And then what's your other one that you were thinking? Or it was those two in the same game?
And Booker, yeah. Booker and
Okay,
Ayton.
so I'm
And
going
I need two on a different team.
Okay, so we can go the ones that I was looking at were the Harden and Maxey. I went Maxey's got the points at 19.5. Harden's got the points and assists, which I was looking at too. Maxey's got the 22.5 points and assists that I was looking at. That's possible. And then Harden's got the points, rebounds, assists, which I don't quite like as much because it's kind of a bigger number. It's 34.5. So I would roll Maxey. The other one who I kind of like a little bit is Melton. He's just been playing really well for them. His total is only 8.5. So Maxey would be my other one, or you could just throw in the Jokic promo boost they have.
I like that. I'd throw the Jokic one in just because.
Let's do it. Let's do it for 10.
Like that's
Jokic
10. Needs to have a game for them to have any chance of winning.
And the thing is, like we said, they can't defend him. They don't really have options. When they try to go smaller, it's fine, but you end up having KD get stuck on him a few times. And that's not really what you want. Like, you don't want Kevin Durant having to guard Jokic down there.
No,
How about this one? Erik, Harden leading scorer plus 750. Thoughts on that?
I'd throw a little bit on it just because a chance.
Yeah, I think Harden, absolutely. Harden Maxey games are the ones I'm playing tonight. So couple Thrive fantasy prop parlays. Let's look. All you have to do is go to my props, see what's coming up. I have 2 for today. I played Maxey, 19.5 points, and I went Devin Booker under 39.5 points and assists. We've got this other one that Erik put together with Ayton, under 23.5 points and rebounds, and we went over for Jokic, the 47.5 combo, points, rebounds, and assists. Erik, buddy, good luck to you in all of your plays. We'll be back tomorrow, folks, Monday, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time to talk more NBA. Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Anything else to say before we get out of here, my friend?
The fact I actually bet the 76ers.
You love it.
Disgusting to me. There is this trend, though. If teams cover, they win. I mean, you can parlay. If you're betting the 76ers and Nuggets, like I am, the parlay for those is plus 340. So I would definitely, if you're tailing my bets, why not just throw
absolutely just a little sprinkle
plus 340. Yep.
Let's make some money. I hate the Lakers. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I don't even like saying that out loud. I don't even like saying that. Erik, buddy, good luck to you on Sunday. Looking forward to talking to you tomorrow.
Let's make some money, my man.
Don't forget, folks, if you are in the state of Iowa, I didn't throw up the promo code for DRF Sportsbook because we're looking at the lines at DRF Sportsbook. If you're in the state of Iowa, we can give you a $1,000 deposit match when you use our promo code FAST1000. FAST1000 in the state of Iowa. Use that promo code, and you'll get a $1,000 deposit match. Good luck, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you again